Hi there, Mr. Holcomb here with another episode of The Math Behind the Modules. This is Lesson 7, Drawing Parallelograms. Okay, so we're going to start off with a classwork example, and it says, use what you know about drawing parallel lines with a set square to draw a rectangle ABCD with dimensions of your choice. State the steps you use to draw your rectangle and compare those steps to those of a partner. Okay, so first of all, we want to draw parallel lines. Use what you know about drawing parallel lines with a set square to draw a rectangle. So I'm going to start with drawing two parallel lines, and then we'll make a rectangle from those parallel lines. So this is a set square right here. It's called Smart Geodric by Aristo, and it's just in my toolbox here. But if you just have a plastic one or made out of paper, you can also make them out of paper or cardstock. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that out of the way for a moment. Just set this off to the side. And I'm going to just draw a line segment AB. And it doesn't matter where I put it. How about at this angle here? And all I'm going to do is draw a segment on my ruler like so. And I'm going to call this point A. Actually, let's just put arrows here. These are lines. Now let's call the ends A. Let's just call it, this is A. And this point here is B. So there is a line segment. Very simple, yes, use my ruler. Now, I'm in an electronic version, and yes, I could cheat and then just move my ruler down here and draw another one and know that they're parallel. But that doesn't help you if you are doing this on paper. There's no way for you to be able to move a ruler exactly so that the angle doesn't change. So I'm going to now draw, I'm just going to put a dot out in space somewhere, like here maybe, and I'm going to call that C. I want a line to go through, or a segment to go through C, so I have a line that is parallel to AB. And I'm going to use my square. Okay, so what I need to do is, this is set at 0 degrees right now. And notice the 90-degree angle's up here. And so if I rotate this over, what I want to do is I want to find where this is 0. So I'm going to put this right on the line here and rotate it until it's perfectly on the line like so. And it's at 19 degrees. So this angle measure is 19 degrees. And as you can see, my ruler does say that on here as well. So this is a 19-degree measurement. So in order to get this to rotate like so, well, I'm rotating at 45 degrees. So 45 plus 19 is 64. But since you wouldn't have an electronic version, all you would do is take this ruler or this geo square and set it right on the line like so, and then draw. So I know what the angle is. What I would do is I'd use my ruler as a guide. Okay, so if I put my ruler right here on the edge of the square, and I'm looking for no gaps here, so I got to rotate this just a little bit more. I'd say right about, a little more, right about there. Okay, so then I'd move this out of the way, and I would draw a segment like so going through C. Okay, that's off just a little bit, but you get the idea. So it'd be right through C like this, using the ruler and using the geo square as a guide for the ruler. So I'd line up the geo square right on my line like so, and then actually you could use the geo square to draw this. So let's not draw that red line yet. So if I were you and I had a piece of paper with my set square and a ruler, you would take the set square, put it on the green line so that this lines up perfectly, and it goes through C. All right, and then I'd take my ruler over here and put it up against that right there, so that there's no gaps. It'd be tight against it, like so. And then you take and slide this down so that this is now here. And then I would draw my segment through C. Okay, so now I have two lines that are parallel, using the ruler as a guide and just sliding my square down to that point. Okay, so there's two parallel lines. Okay, so now that I have two parallel lines, now I want to draw a rectangle. So I know that a rectangle has four sides, where opposite sides are congruent and opposite sides are parallel. So I have two sides now, the green side and the blue side. They're parallel. I just have to find a location where they're equal in length. So what I would do at this point is just put either my square or my ruler on here, and I need 90 degrees, so let's use the square, and I'd put it right on C, and I would draw a segment from A, line A to C, like so. So there is a line which is 90 degrees from AB and 90 degrees from the line segment that C is on. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is repeat that step by moving my square over so that it's somewhere on this AB, and this is still right on the line, and then I can draw a segment from here to here, and then knowing that that's also 90 degrees. So there is a rectangle formed using a set square and a ruler. Okay, so there is more than one way to create a rectangle. Here is a description of possible steps. You could draw segment AB first, which I did. Align the set square so that one leg aligns with AB, which I did, and place the ruler against the other leg of the set square. Mark a point X so many centimeters away, because we know that this side is the same length as this. So let's just say I've marked this 6 centimeters away and put an X right here from AB. Draw a line parallel to AB through X, so that through this point right here. So then I would take my square and put it up against that line like here, and line it up with that X and draw the line segment, which I basically did with just putting a dot. Okay. Then it says draw a line parallel to AB through X, realigning the set square with AB. So I did that with the ruler, and then situate the ruler so that it passes through A. Okay, well I didn't pass it through A, I just went in between set points A and B. But I could have also gone through A. And draw a segment with this length of the same length as we did over here. Mark the intersection of the line through A and the parallel line AB as D. Okay? So let's just say my A was right here, and my B was right here. That's what this is saying. So then I'd erase this and this segment, and there's my line segment AB that they're talking about. And then when I drew this, and then I would call this point C, and then finally this point D. Okay? And that really isn't the best way to name a parallelogram or any quadrilateral. You want to go, I always like going clockwise. You can go counterclockwise as well, but you shouldn't skip around letters. So this is a poor name for this rectangle. So I'd erase that segment, by the way, out there. I want to go in order. A, B, down here I wouldn't go to D, I'd go to C, and then over, returning to D. Okay. Now let's move on to example 2. Use what you know about drawing parallel lines with a set square to draw a rectangle ABCD, with AB being 3 centimeters and BC being 5. Write a plan for the steps you will take to draw. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would draw a line segment AB. So I just get my ruler out, and I'll just leave it at this angle. Actually, no, let's just turn it a little bit. Okay, like so. And it says draw a segment AB that's 3 centimeters long. Okay, so you just take your ruler and go from 0 to 3. Here's A, here's B. And BC is 5 centimeters long. So now I'm going to take my square, bring it down here, rotate it so it lines up with the segment I made as closely as I can. I'd say it's right about there. And I would draw from this side first, or actually what does it say to do? And BC is 5. So let's do BC first. Let's rotate it around this way so that this side is right on. So I'd line up that corner right there. Okay, and that is right on. And then I would take and draw a segment that is BC's 5 centimeters long. So then I'd bring my ruler over, line it up with the edge of my square, like this, but I'd bring it down and I want 5 centimeters, so I'd put the 5 right there on B. Really difficult electronically. Let's see if I can do it better with my mouse. Okay, and I need to move this out of the way. And then I draw my segment from 5 to 0. And let's make that side green, that's fine. So I'd start here and go down to 0. Okay, so this segment is 5 centimeters, and this one was 3. Okay, so I have 2 sides done now. And then what I can do is rotate my square around the other way, bring it over and line up the corner with A, like so. And draw a segment from A down. Like that. And then I'd measure it, and it's got to be 5 centimeters. And that's not long enough, so let me make it longer. Let's do that again. I'll go way down here, all the way to there. And then I bring my ruler over and put the 5 right here. And then erase my overhang and bring it right back to 0. Okay, and then my last step is to draw a segment. Since these are both 5, all I'd have to do now is connect these 2 ends. And there is a rectangle with 90-degree corners, obviously if it's a rectangle. And this is 3 centimeters by 5 centimeters. So now we write a plan. Okay, and here is the plan here. I'm not going to take the time to read all through this. I explained it as I went, but if you want to pause the video and read this, feel free. Example 3. Use a set square, ruler, and protractor to draw parallelogram PQRS so the measurement of angle P is 50 degrees, PQ is 5 centimeters, and the measure of Q is 130 degrees, and the length of the altitude PQ is 4 centimeters. Okay, so what we need is a set square, boom, a ruler, boom, and a protractor, boom. Okay, so I have my weapons of math instruction. Alrighty, and I'll just set those off to the side there. It says use a set square, ruler, and protractor to draw the parallelogram. Measure of angle P is 50 degrees. Well, I can't draw an angle unless I have two lines, segments. So I need to start with a segment, and they said PQ is 5 centimeters. So I'm going to start off with taking my ruler and drawing a 5 centimeter segment and calling it PQ. Start at 0 and go out to 5. I'll call this end P, and I'll call this end Q. Okay, so I have my segment, and it is 5 centimeters in length. Okay, step 1, done. I need a measure of angle Q to be 130 degrees. So I need a protractor for that. Measure of angle Q is 130 degrees. So I would put my protractor's crosshair right on Q. You see this right here? This line here? I put it right on Q and make sure that this is right on that segment. This segment is right on that line going to the 180. So 130 degrees coming from this way is going on the outside, and 130 is right there. So I put a dot right here. That's where it's got to go. So there I mark my 130 degrees. Then I move my protractor out of the way, bring my ruler down, rotate it up to there, and draw a segment going through like that. So there is my 130 degrees. Okay, so there's my angle Q, that's 130. Now I want to do a measure of angle P that is 50. So I move this protractor over, put the crosshair right on the end at P, make sure that this is on the line 0 of the protractor. 50 is the same as the outside 130. Here's 50 here, so I would put a dot or a mark right here at 130. Move my protractor, bring my ruler over, put it right at 0, and draw a segment that goes through that point I drew right there. Okay. Now let me just erase those little pieces, if I can. There we go. Okay, so let's recap what we've done. I drew line segment PQ that's 5 centimeters long just using the ruler. Then I took my protractor crosshair and put it right at Q, marked a point where it was 130 degrees, moved the protractor, drew a segment, and then did the same for 50 degrees over here. So I haven't labeled that yet. This is 50 degrees, this angle here. Let me do 2 marks here because they're not congruent. Okay, so now it says finally, and then the length of the altitude to PQ is 4 centimeters. So now I need to draw a perpendicular line using my square. So I'd rotate my square around like so. And put it right on line that up the best I can right there, and then I would draw a vertical line from here up like so. Okay, so that is perpendicular, and altitude is perpendicular to the base. So there's my perpendicular line using my square, and it needs to be 4 centimeters long. So now I take my ruler and set it at 90 degrees. You know, you can't do that on paper, but then I would line this up right there, and my 4 is right here. Okay, so I marked it. And then I would mark another one. Probably be a good idea to do 2. Because if I just brought my ruler over now like so, I can do it accurately with a computer. I know that this is 0 degrees, and I would just put my ruler here and draw a line segment, but I can't cheat and do that. I would need another segment to also be 90 degrees. So here's what I'm going to do if I were on paper and doing this accurately. I put my ruler back on this so it lines up, and I'd extend my PQ out with a dotted line, okay? And somewhere on that dotted line, I would put the square so it lines up just like I did before, and then draw a vertical line like so. Okay, and then I would measure that vertical line to be 4 centimeters as well. Put 0 right at the intersection. Draw a segment up to, oops, there's already a segment there. Put a mark at 4, and then connect those 2 points. Okay, so then I'd clean this up. I'd erase this to here. I would then erase this. And I should have drawn this over here further so that was in, so that I can show that. And then I want to erase all these parts that are outside the best I can. And there we go. So the altitude was 4 centimeters. And there is my parallelogram PQRS. So angle R is 50 degrees and angle S is 130 degrees. So there is my parallelogram. Okay, exercise 1, this is to do on your own. Pause the video, see if you can do this, and then come back and check your solution or your picture. Okay, so here we go. Use a set square ruler protractor to draw a parallelogram DEFG so that the measurement of angle D is 40 degrees. I can't draw an angle and I don't have any segments, so I've got to do a segment first. And I know that DE is 3 centimeters, so that's what my starting point is. So I'm going to bring my ruler down here, start at 0, go to 3, and let me just be accurate with this. It's easier to erase than it is to draw to an exact value. Okay, that's about right there, 3 centimeters. Okay, so move that out of the way, label it, and let's go clockwise this time, so I'll call this D. And this is E. And it's 3 centimeters. Okay, so done. The measure of angle E is 140 degrees. Okay, so reading that now, if I were to have created this, I would have done it over here further. All right, and the reason I know this right away after reading that is 130 degrees is going to go at this angle, so I'm going to go off my paper if I was too close to the left. So if I'm making E obtuse, you know it's going over here. So I know you can't do that and move it like I did, but if you erase it and just draw it over to the right further. So then I set up my protractor so that so that the crosshair is right on E, and this line at 0 degrees is right on the segment I drew of DE. So now I'm going to mark where 40 degrees is. So here's 40 right here. Measure of angle D is 40. The measure of angle E is 140. So let's do E first. And 140 is right here. Okay, and then I would move my protractor over to D and put it right as close as I can on that end at D. Right there, so that this segment DE is on the 180 degree line. And then I go over, move my square, and 40 degrees is going to be, let's see, angle D is 40 degrees. So that's got to be here. Okay, and angle E, I'm just double checking here, is 140 degrees. So there they are. There's the 2 points. And I'm going to call this F and this G. Okay, so D, E, F, G. D, E, F, G. So the length of the altitude DE is 5 centimeters. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do though is draw a segment from E to F. So I'd put my ruler either 0 right on F or 0 right on E, it doesn't matter. And I'm rotating this, so I'm going right through E. So here's my segment. So I know this is my obtuse angle of 140 degrees. Okay, and then I move my ruler over to G, make sure it's going through D, like so. So I know that this is 40 degrees. Okay, so to do an altitude on something like this, I'm now going to extend my DE segment over like so. So I draw a dotted line here. All right. Now I take my square, rotate it so that I'm going to be able to put this right on my dotted line here and draw a vertical line right here. So there's my vertical line or perpendicular line to the extension of DE, my base. I need that to be 5 centimeters long. So I take my ruler, put 0 right at this end, and mark 5 centimeters. Okay? So obviously I have not gone up far enough with my F and G because they're outside. I can't draw a line. Let me show you what I mean here. If I close this up, my altitude's not on that side. Okay, so I need to extend. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another segment or another altitude over here. Like so. And move that out of the way. And then measure that one to be 5 centimeters. Right there. Okay. So now I'm going to rotate my ruler. I have 2 marks that are 5 centimeters from, like so, and I draw this segment here. Okay, so now all I need to do is extend my DG segment up to that green line. So this had to continue to here. Same with over here. And then I can just clean this up by erasing my overlaps. And I can erase this second altitude. Okay, so there it is. There is a parallelogram with altitude of 5 centimeters with a length of side DE 3 centimeters with a 40 and 140 degree angles. Okay, so one last time, we're going to use a square ruler protractor to draw a rhombus ABCD so that the measurement of angle A is 80, measure of angle B is 100, and each side of the rhombus measures 5 centimeters. So obviously I'm going to start with a line segment that is 5 centimeters long. I'll put this smack dab in the middle of this page. I start at 0, and I measure over to 5. And there's my 5 centimeter segment. And I will call this, let's put A over here, and B here. I'm going clockwise, so naming this. So there's side AB, 5 centimeters long. Then I get my protractor, I bring it down and I put it right on A, right on the end of that segment, as accurate as you possibly can. Okay? Down a little bit more. Very difficult with this pen. Okay. Okay, right about there, I guess. So I'm right here at the on A, and this AB is right on the 180 degree line, and angle A is 80 degrees. So 90 is right here. There's an 80 here and an 80 here, but I know it's going to be acute less than 90, and if I go out this way, that's going to be 100 degrees. So when you go to the right like this, opening this way is the outside degree. So I want 80 degrees, which is right here. So I move this out of the way, put my ruler at 0 on A, rotate it, so I'm going through this segment. Okay. Now keep in mind that it says each side of the rhombus measures 5 centimeters. So I don't want 7 centimeters, I want 5. So I'm going to erase this back to the 5 centimeter mark right there. There's 5 centimeters. And this is 80 degrees. So there's segment AB that's 5 centimeters long. There's segment AD that's 5 centimeters long. I'm half done. This is congruent to that. Measure of angle B is 100 degrees. So now I put my protractors and or my crosshairs right on B. And just a little more ag there. That's good right there. Oh. Here, Control Z and I'll put it right there. Perfect. So I've got my crosshairs right on B. AB is on the line 0. I want the 100 degrees opening this direction, which is inside. So when I count this way, I get to 100, which is actually 80 on the other side. And that's right there. Move my protractor, bring my ruler over, line it up with segment B, or the point B, and I want to go through that line right there. And draw this segment. Put this right at 0, because we're measuring it at the same time. And I want it 5 centimeters long. So now I'm going to erase back to 5, which is right there. So this is 5 centimeters. And this is going to be C. Now to finish this, if I measured everything correctly, I should be able to just put my ruler here and connect C and D. And this should also be 5 centimeters. And this should also be 80 degrees. This should be 100 degrees. And this, let me use 2 markers. And this should be 100 degrees. Okay, that is the end of lesson 7. Review the lesson summary and go do your problem set.